Yeah, I'm going to be real with you. That went about exactly how I expected it to.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Red Wings. I am your host, Scott Bentley, while Brian Fisher, I'm your host, one of your hosts always, but Brian is still out of town. He gets to avoid this bleep show. Today is Friday, April 11th, 2025. I appreciate you all so much for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Maybe bet against the Detroit Red Wings. Seems to be a relatively safe one at the present moment. The Wings lose 4-1 in Florida at the hands of the Panthers. You know, we were talking what was it, last weekend? The Wings played Florida and won. It was about what was that, last Friday, week to the day? And it's so funny thinking back to that. And I came on here, was like, oh, like it was an impressive victory, and a lot of people in the comments were like, dude, they played basically the Florida's AHL team, like everybody was hurt, which is totally fair and was a correct statement. And now you have this game where they looked just disinterested, man. Like, what are we even talking about? That could be the show. That could be the show. We have a 2-minute long show. Just be like, well, that, they got dominated. They never had the puck, couldn't stop a nosebleed, and here we are. Like, it was not as close as the box score would lead you to believe, and the box score doesn't even lead you to believe that it was a very close hockey game. Was not very close. Did not look like a very motivated team. And is it fair to say, like, why would they be motivated? These games are meaningless. They're pointless. So I don't know, man. Like, this is this game went about exactly how, almost exactly. This was textbook. This was an absolute layup. Like, yeah, this went about how we all, I think, expected it to. Well, I mean, like, where do you want to break down? What do we want to break down? You want to go player by player? We could just say that everyone just kind of looked meh. We can if you want to. You are all the captain. You drive. We are merely the vessel. Okay. Like, like what? Okay, DeBrincat's goal. Even that was like Florida just got kind of caught napping a little bit. Aggressively got behind the net, crashed the boards, got the puck out. Cat was right in front of the net. Beauty. That wasn't like an impressive, like, oh wow, the offense was clicking, or like, oh, like the Wings were dominating that part of the game. Nope, that was just kind of Florida was caught napping a little bit. Then they woke up and did not get caught napping the rest of the hockey game. Like I said, we can go player by player if you really want. I don't think anyone had a particularly great game. The players I will give credit to, I thought that Edvinsson looked pretty solid. Even he had a couple of miscues, but like as a whole, if you want to base it across 60, I thought he had a relatively solid game. Aljo had one really bad mishap that I can remember off the top of my head, but for the most part was solid enough. And that might be the end of the conversation. Like, again, obviously Cat, got the goal. Fine. Missed what, one shift, two shifts for injury thing at the first period there, came back. And yeah, the rest was uncompetitive hockey. It truly, it wasn't even one of those things where it was like the Habs game. It was okay. Well, the Wings dominated possession and really dominated the first period just entirely, and then either ran out of gas or let up or whatever theory you have. Habs just made adjustments, whatever. This game was you could argue 60 of in Florida's favor. Off rip, dude. And like, again, the shot totals aren't going to look like it was an absolute. The shot totals aren't going to make it look as dominant of a performance as it was, but it was. They had the upper hand the whole game. The only conversation we would have been having if the Wings had won this game, okay? This is a thought I had about 3/4 of the way through the second period. Was the only thing we would be talking about if the Wings won was how they stole a win that they didn't probably deserve. Like that's the type of hockey game this was. And that's not what happened. The deserving team got it and got it comfortably. I think the most staggering part to me, like, again, how mad am I going to be that it was kind of a lifeless performance? It's a weird situation where it's almost a lose-lose. If they come out and play super, super hard and win, you're looking around going, well, where the heck was this? Any of the last 3 weeks? And you're kind of frustrated. Or they lay an egg like they did on Thursday night. And you go, okay, well, that's kind of lame. maybe try a little bit harder. And I don't like saying that like professional athletes aren't trying. That's me being overly dramatic, but certainly not the most energetic or electric performance we have seen from the Red Wings this year. That is for sure. And again, it's hard to blame them. You can blame them and just be like, hey, you're a professional athlete. You're getting, paid whatever money. You probably should, whatever. You can say that, I guess. But I would be hard to motivate given the Red Wings' current situation, too. These games are meaningless. They're out of the playoff picture, and they were comfortably in it and had an epic collapse. And now we're playing one of the best teams in hockey in this game as well. That's still to some extent playing for something. So yeah. Again, we can do a little bit more individual performances, I guess. Already talked about some of the defensemen. We can talk about some more forwards. I guess we talked about Cat a little bit already, but it's a couple of really bad plays in this game that cost you. Justin Holl had a couple of rough plays. Tyler Mott, after I was kind of singing his praises earlier in the week, had a couple of had one really rough play. Had a couple of miscues though, even in shortened amount of playing time. Here we are. This is super enthusiastic. I know. I know you're listening to this and you're like, wow, this is such a fun listen. I wish I could make this a fun listen. I wish I was that good at my job. But unfortunately, for all of us, here we are after another disappointing loss. This one doesn't even sting in terms of like the Habs one was like, okay, your season's over. This result doesn't matter. Like this, you know what I mean? This, okay, they win, they lose. They're still not in the playoff picture. The season is, for all intensive purposes, done. This was just a duck, dude. This was not a mighty duck. This was an absolute just My back in Little League, when I was growing up, my first Little League coach, when you didn't throw the ball hard enough, used to call it a rainbow trout. That's what this feels like. It's a trout. All right. Let's keep the ball rolling. Keep talking about this hockey game. I've kind of just complained for a segment here, so maybe we can get into a little bit more of the specifics of the game itself, and I can get off my soapbox. Then we'll preview another hockey game because I know you're all so excited to tune in for another one tonight. We'll do both of those things right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on all of the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals, assists, you name it. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, even after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out and go to fanduel.com to claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will be back on Monday recapping a game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I know you all are on the edge of your seat for. We had a conversation yesterday talking about, what Red Wings could possibly be playing their last game as members of the Detroit Red Wings. I don't have too much to add or contribute to that conversation today. I think pretty much all of those players are self-explanatory, and I don't think any of them, gave such an inspiring performance that I'm changing my mind here. The one silver lining the rest of the season is going to be the playing time of the youth. And I think that for, again, whatever it's worth, as I mentioned earlier, Edvinsson and Aljo, I thought had, okay performances compared to the rest of the team. But I think that we have seen down the stretch, especially here, I don't want to say like a letting up from some of the other forwards, or some of the young forwards, period, rather. I don't want to say that they've, like let up or like gone downhill, or that I'm, out on them as players or whatever. But I think that we are seeing the wall that a lot of young players hit for some of those guys. Marco Kasper was pretty darn ineffective in this hockey game. It's also tough because everyone was ineffective. So it's hard to really focus on one player and be like, wow, like I really wish Marco stepped up tonight. Stepped up and did what, dude? Like stepped up and played Superman and like put the entire team on his back. Like it's tough. This, I'll be completely honest with you, peek behind the curtain. This is a game that is difficult to analyze because it means so little to the team and the situation they're in. And all three periods looked the exact same, and it wasn't good. You can just group everyone in together, dude. I kind of wanted Austin Watson to hit somebody there at the end of the game. Like you're dressed, you're out there late in the third. Let's just, chuck some knucks, let's let's make something happen. I mean, especially with all the nonsense at the end of the hockey game, skating by the bench and grabbing Edvinsson's stick. I didn't get a good enough angle of that to tell, exactly if Edvinsson, instigated that or if he just grabbed it going by. I have no clue. I'll just default and blame the opponent and be biased, I guess. But that's just a moment where you're like, let's maybe send Watson out there and see what happens. Tarasenko, brutal hockey game. Brutal. And that, shocker, right? Not really news to anybody, but like legitimately brutal. He only had 11 minutes of even strength ice time, dude. Like that is so impossible to comprehend at this time last year. Right? Like if you would have told me, hey, in April of last year, the Wings are, or after, the regular season ends, the Wings are going to go sign Vladimir Tarasenko. And by the end of the season, he's going to be playing 11 minutes a night. And not even, he's completely ineffective, if not a liability, in those 11 minutes. It is so impossible for summer of 2024 me to comprehend. Unfortunately, just has been a complete disaster of a signing for all parties involved. Michael Rasmussen making stuff happen in front of the net, I guess, for whatever that's worth. Raymond had a couple of giveaways that weren't very good. Yeah. Like, yeah, dude. Yeah. Patrick Kane had a couple of shots on net that were high danger. And I guess in a perfect world, you'd like him to sink. But, like, I'm not about to, rag on the only guy offensively that has really consistently produced. Well, that's not fair to Alex DeBrincat. One of only two guys on offense that has consistently produced here in the last 3 weeks. Jeff Petrie had a nice play. Shout out. He also had plenty of not, but he did have the one nice one in the corner there in the third period. That's where I'm at. Sider, I didn't think the top pair was uber effective, but that's almost, I don't want to like play favorites here, but like that's almost unfair because it's just like, yeah, well, the top six for Florida just dominated you. So like, yeah, nobody's going to have very good analytics when that's the case. Okay, we can move on. I feel like I have said like 1 point just a different way for 17 minutes. So I genuinely do apologize. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Rough game. Goaltending, sure. I actually thought that Talbot made a couple of nice saves. This is another one where it's really hard for me to blame goaltending. And I know that Brian and I get half jokingly, half not, kind of like labeled as the goalie defenders sometimes. But like, dude, the puck was in the Wings zone for like 60 straight minutes. And even if the shots on net aren't super lopsided, like the possession is, and the high danger opportunities are, and again, just the amount that the puck was in your zone and in the defensive zone was enough where I'm not gonna blame this on Cam Talbot. Okay. You know what's great? Now we get to preview another hockey game, baby. All right. We'll do that right after this. Whoa. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at GameTime. There's nothing like the energy of a live game, whether it's catching a last-minute MLB showdown or soaking in the excitement of an NBA matchup. Finding great seats at a great price, well, that used to be a challenge until I found GameTime. GameTime makes scoring last-minute tickets even easier than ever. Prices actually drop as the event gets closer. And with their all-in pricing, you see the total cost up front with no surprises at checkout. You can save up to 60% buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You can grab last-minute seats for the Detroit Pistons, the Detroit Tigers, teams you want to see actively right now, and save big with their new zone deals. You also get peace of mind. You get to see your seat before you buy. There's no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. So Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Red Wings. I appreciate you all greatly. If you have stuck around for me just whining and moaning for 20 minutes, and just even clicked on this episode, period, after that hockey game, if you somehow are in a state of mind where you watched that and your next thought was, wow, I want to hear a dumb person in his 20s talk about that, you deserve financial compensation. And I appreciate you so, so much. Genuinely, anybody who listens to Brian and I talk in any capacity, we appreciate, but especially after games like this where like nobody really wants to. You are the real MVP. You are a superhero. Brian is not. He's off sipping sparkling water in on a beach right now. Okay, that guy sucks. Love you, Brian. So let's talk about the next game for the Detroit Red Wings, which is tonight as you are listening to this, assuming you're listening on Friday. They will go and stay in Florida, go to Tampa this time around, play the Lightning, another divisional opponent. The Lightning are 45, 26, and 7. Golly. Team just does not die, does not go away. If anything, they've taken a step forward from what people thought they were. They've kind of been this team. Boston was one as well, but kind of in a different capacity a little bit, where the Lightning, ever since the back-to-back cups, were kind of slowly on a decline, and they were kind of just taking like half a step back every year, but they were still obviously one of the best teams in hockey. This year, they only have 4 games left, and they're at, I think, 97 points. That's according to Bleacher Report at the time of this recording. So maybe that's a couple off, but they're in all likelihood going to break 100. And I think Brian and I'm trying to remember our preseason expectations. I feel like we probably had them maybe taking a little bit of a step back, but still being a playoff team. But no, they're looking like they're, that's why this game mattered for the Panthers, was because they're within a point of each other, Tampa and Florida, the Lightning and the Panthers, I should say, to make it easier to track. They're within a point of each other, and that, for seeding purposes, obviously matters. So you go and play the Lightning, who technically are having a better season than Florida. You're going to be the heavy underdog. Wow. Plus 225. Goodness. There was some rumblings about, maybe some players getting healthy here. Mrazek was on the bench in this one. People wanting to see Carter Mazur. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with Soderblom. He's kind of like hit or miss every given night. So we'll see what happens with all of that. At this point, you're kind of just pulling for the more youth that plays, the better, right? Like the wins and losses don't necessarily matter, but obviously player performances always do. So I think this is probably an instance where you're just kind of hoping that the youth can, use these games to their advantage when it comes to development. Because Tampa's really effing good, dude. This is the second best offense in hockey, just in terms of goals scored, and the third best in goals against. So, yeah. Also, best stat in hockey, they're third in save percentage. So, shout out. Top 5 power play, top 7 penalty kill, top 2 offense, top 3 defense, top 3 goaltending. So, if it's not blatantly clear, you're going up against, Point already, I say already, there's only like 3 or 4 games left. Point has 40 goals. Kucherov is going to finish over a point a game on the season. McDonough has a plus 40. Oh, Luke Glendening, the face-off win percentage leader for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Miss my dog. Is it not the most obvious thing ever that I loved Luke Glendening? face-off king, dude. Of course, obviously. And then Vasilevsky with he's pushing a 920 save percentage. So yeah, I mean, I whatever. I could read you stats about how good they are and how bad we are all night. I think everybody kind of gets the drill at this point. The frustrating thing to me is even the things the Wings were good at, they're kind of like slipping in, right? The power play. If they don't score on a power play or two here in the last few games of the season, they might fall out of the top 5 in power play percentage, which is just ridiculously unacceptable given how good it was and how comfortably they were in the top 2 for the entire season. They might legitimately fall outside of the top 5 entirely. They went 0 for again on Thursday night. The penalty kill went 0 for 1 as well. Special teams was an atrocity. And yeah, we know that it's probably not going to get much better at this point. Like they're not going to like magically turn around, their areas of weakness here. So yeah. Okay. Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night Show every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get your local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. This is honestly like one of the coolest things. They're doing it over at baseball too, at Locked On MLB. So you literally just go to the Locked On NHL YouTube channel, and they will just go live after the final game that night ends and do a 30-minute, kind of a round robin type of thing. And they'll bring in, short recap videos from hosts around the league as well, and go through the implications and go through every single game, every single night. It's a fantastic way to end your evening. So be sure to go check that out. Like I said, I appreciate anybody who tuned in to an episode that is this demoralizing and this much of a downer. Don't let me or the Red Wings ruin your day. Okay, go have a fantastic Friday. It's Friday, dude. Okay, it's Friday. The Tigers play. The Pistons won. They're going to be in the playoffs in a couple of weeks. We're all right. We're all right. Brian's bald as well. Something else we can never forget. I wonder, someone put this in the comments yesterday. What SPF sunscreen does Brian put on his bald head? It's a great question. We're going to have to ask him about that. How do you feel about it Friday? How do you feel about I don't know. I'm pulling an Ethan here. How do you feel about the Detroit Tigers? Kind of a fun start to the year. A lot of injuries, but kind of a fun start. You can hear me yap about that for half an hour. That's a little bit more uplifting, if you will. How do you feel? We're gonna ask one for the class before I head out of here. How do you feel about? How about this? Okay, it's April 11th. Do your taxes. Okay, don't wait. Don't wait 4 more days. Okay, how do you feel about doing your taxes? Awful, but do them. Okay. That's my message. That's my good deed for the day, is reminding people to do their taxes. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed. Appreciate you all. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.